All right. Hello, Algebra 3 students. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I know you're missing a little math, so here we go. Now, I would make sure, as we go through this video, that you take notes on these examples, like work them through as I work them through. All right, so our first skill you can see on the left is I can write a polynomial given some roots. So in a sense, we're going to work backwards here. I'm already giving you the answer, the three answers. So this would be a case where you would know that the solution to some polynomial that's equal to 0, you would know that x would equal, your answers would be x equals -3, x equals 1/2, and x equals 1. Our goal in this problem is to come up with what that polynomial is going to equal. Okay? So let's think about it in a few ways. We have three solutions, which means when I have three solutions, that means I'm looking for three factors. Right? If I can get those factors, if I know what those factors are, that would give me a way to get the polynomial. All right, so the key for these type of problems is going to be the three answers that I start with, okay? If x equals 3, sorry about that. If x equals 3, and I know that that's a solution to 0, if I want to get that equal to 0, I would just have to bring the 3 back to the other side, and I would have x minus 3. So with an answer of 3, one of my factors is x minus 3, right? The 3 is positive, it's x minus 3 is the factor. Okay? Now I'm going to do, I got that one taken care of. I'm now going to do the 1. If x equals 1 and I want it to equal 0, I would have to bring the 1 over and I would have x minus 1. That's my second factor. Okay? Now we haven't dealt with the fractions yet, but let's do it. If x equals 1/2 and I want that to equal 0, I would first have to multiply by the 2 and get 2x, and then I would bring the 1 over by subtracting 1. Okay, so my factor is 2x minus 1. Okay, and again, if you're unsure, if you take the 2x minus 1 and solve for x, I would add the 1 and divide by 2 and get back to my 1/2. So I've taken each one of my solutions that I was given and written them as factors. So we go from these solutions to the three factors. And now I'm going to do multiplication. I'm going to use distributive property. I'm going to multiply the first two factors out using FOIL. X times x is x squared minus 1x minus 3x plus 3. So I get x squared minus 4x plus 3. Right? Now I'm going to take that times the third factor, and I'm going to distribute those out. Okay? Again, I'm going to use distributive property. X squared times 2x, x squared times -1. Now I'm going -4x times 2x, -8x squared. -4x times -1 is +4x. And finally, I'm going to do the 3. 6x minus 3. I am going to know what my polynomial is here in just a moment by combining like terms. 2x cubed minus 9x squared plus 4x plus 3. That is my final answer. Right? That polynomial will give me these three, again, these three, 1, 2, 3 answers, if I solve it or if I graph it, those would be my solutions. All right, second example, again, notice I have three answers, and my answers are x equals 0, x equals 2/3, x equals 3. Those are my three solutions. If I have three solutions, that means I have three factors, right, to get my polynomial. The first one, the easy one, is the 0. I would have x minus 0. The next one would be the 3. If I have a positive 3, I have x minus 3 there. The last one is the 2/3. Now, remember, what we don't want to do is put x minus 2/3 in there. We don't want to deal with fractions. I know it's going to be minus because the 2/3 is positive. Again, I know x equals 2/3, but I want x to equal 0, which means I have to multiply by 3 and subtract the 2. Multiply by 3 and subtract the 2. So I'm going to have 3x minus 2. 3x minus 2. Okay, now I'm supposed to FOIL this out to get my answer or use the distributive property. However, some of you may have already noticed my job's going to be a little bit easier because x minus 0 is just x. That will make my multiplication a little easier. The x minus 0 is just x. So now I can distribute the first two, x squared minus 3x, and now I can multiply those two out. X squared times 3x, 3x cubed. X squared times minus 2. Negative 3x times 3x. Negative 3x times negative 2. Combine like terms. The polynomial that I'm looking for is right there. 3x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x has answers of 0, 2/3, and 3. When I set that equal to 0, I would get those answers. When I graph those, my answers would be, right? And so just to quick go over again what we're finding. We're finding that if I would graph this, I would intersect at 0, I would intersect at 2/3, and I would intersect at 3. Just a little overview trying to tie things together. All right, I want to go back to solving the polynomial equations again, okay? And what I want to look at today is how do we handle a polynomial like the one given here, 2x cubed plus 7x squared minus 14x plus 15 equals 0, okay? I want to handle problems where, like this one, you cannot factor to start with. Okay? This problem does not factor. So we have to approach it a little different way. Okay? If a problem doesn't factor, we are going to approach it a different way. You're actually going to be given one of the roots. That's going to help us. So notice it says find the roots given that one of them is 1. Okay? Now, I know because this is a cubic, right, when I'm solving, I should end up with 3 factors. I now know what one of the factors is, right, x minus 1, because 1 is an answer. I'm going to use that to help me get the other ones, okay? Here's what we're going to do. We have a given root. Over here I have some things to remember. We are actually going to take that root and use synthetic division to help us get the other roots. So I'm going to take the root that they give me, 1, and I'm going to divide my polynomial by that 1. So again, remember, I write down the coefficients in order. I don't have to fill in any zeros here. 2, 7, negative 14, 15. I'm going to do synthetic division, right? We bring the first number down, and then we multiply. 1 times 2 is 2. I bring the next number down. I need to pause this a moment and make a change. I wrote down the wrong number. I apologize. This last number isn't 15. Sorry. You can pause the video and fix this, but it's 5. 5. Sorry about that. Okay, it's 5. Okay. So again, we're doing synthetic division. Thank you. Brought the 2 down. Brought the 2 down. 2 times 1 is 2. 7 plus 2 is 9. Now I take the 1 times 9. And I get 9, and I add, and I get negative 5. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5, and I get my 0. Okay? Awesome. When we give you a root, you should be able to divide and come up with something that works out without a remainder. Now, I already know that one of my answers, remember, one of my answers is 1. So I already know that this polynomial factors into x minus 1. I'm trying to find the other 2 factors. Okay. Well, if I go and I start at a cubic, if I start at a cubic and divide, I now have a squared. 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. I'm going to try to factor that because that's what's left now after dividing. So I'm either going to factor over here, or I'm going to use the quadratic formula. That's always an option. Now, I'm going to multiply the 2 times negative 5 and get negative 10. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to negative 10 that also add up to 9. So a 10 and a negative 1 are good numbers. So I'm going to split this function into 2x squared plus 10x plus negative 1x minus 5 equals 0. Myself a little more room. Now we do grouping. 2x, x plus 5. I'm going to take out a negative 1 here, so I get x plus 5. And there we have it. I have 2x plus negative 1. And x plus 5. So I now have my 3 factors. Okay, I already had x minus 1. Now, I'm going to write these a little bigger since I have more room. I had x minus 1 because I was given 1. I have 2x minus 1, and I have x plus 5. And I want to know that's equal to 0. So one answer is x equals 1. Another answer is x equals negative 5. And the final answer, 2x minus 1 equals 0. Add 1, divide by 2. X equals 1/2. Those are my 3 answers. Okay, so again, I was given a root, right? I was given a root 1. So I took my polynomial right here, and I divided using synthetic division by 1. I went from a cubic to a quadratic, 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. I factored that to get 2 more factors. That brought me to my 3 factors, x minus 1, 2x minus 1, x plus 5. And therefore, I got my 3 answers. Awesome. So if you can't factor the original, this is your approach. All right, here we go. Another example where I am given a polynomial, x to the 4th plus x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4x minus 8, and I want to find out when it's 0. I want to find all the places where it's 0, but I know at the beginning, I already know that x equals 1 is an answer. Okay? Just like the last problem. So I'm going to take that answer that I know, and I'm going to divide. Okay? Remember, because I have 1 as an answer, I already have x minus 1 as a root. Okay? And I'm going to be looking for some other factors, and I should get those when I divide. So I'm going to take my polynomial now, and I'm going to go 1, 1, 2, 4, -8. I'm going to do my synthetic division. And it divides out. Which means now the resulting numbers, because I started with a 4th power, I now am going to have a cubic. That I need to solve and set equal to 0. Well, it looks to me like I can group. I can pull out an x squared, and I can pull out a 4. Awesome. Great grouping. That means I have 2 more factors that go along with my original factor that I was given. I was given x minus 1. I have found 2 more factors that are going to help me find when it's equal to 0. Well, x minus 1, I already knew, gives me an answer of 1. X plus 2 gives me an answer of -2. The x squared plus 4 is interesting because when I set it equal to 0, I'm going to have to subtract 4. And now when I go to take the square root, because I have x squared, I'm trying to get, or I'm getting a square root of a negative number. Okay? However, we do remember that we, in mathematics, have a way to handle that. Okay? We have a way to handle that. We know that we could make that the square root of 4 and the square root of -1. Okay? The square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. And last year you learned that instead of writing the square root of -1, we are going to write I. So I have found my 3 solutions, actually my 4 solutions for this problem. I had x equals 1, x equals 2, x equals 2i, x equals -2i. Notice 4 solutions. We started with an x to the 4th power, and I got 4 solutions. Perfect. Okay. It's a lot to take in. We're going to do one more example, and you'll be good. All right, here we go on our last problem. Again, this is section 6.6 in your book. If you want to read that also for some follow-up, or watch the video a second time to make sure you're getting that understanding. All right, here we go. So again, we are given a polynomial, x cubed minus 7x squared plus 14x minus 6 equals 0. It does not factor, and that is why when it does not factor, we give you what one of the answers are. So I already know that x equals 3 is an answer, so I'm going to divide the rest of my polynomial, the polynomial, by that given solution. Whoops. Okay. So I'm going to use synthetic division. So I need a 1, -7, 14, and a -6. I'm dividing by that answer that I already know, the 3. Bring the 1 down, multiply by 3. Add to get a -4. 3 times -4 is -12. Add to get 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And look at that. It should be a remainder of 0 when we're doing these problems. Okay? Now, what that means is I already have right here, I have 3 as an answer, which means I have x minus 3 as a factor. This is a cubic problem, so I'm trying to get 2 more factors so that I can get 3 answers. Okay? Well, I can use what I have as a result of my division. If you start with a cubic, you now have a squared polynomial left. And I'm going to set that equal to 0 and try to factor it to get my 2 other factors. I already know that x equals 3 is one of my answers. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, this does not factor. If that ever happens when you have a quadratic, you can use the quadratic formula. As a reminder, negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so we have our a in our problem. Our a is 1, our b is negative 4, and our c is 2. So I'm going to plug those in. The opposite of negative 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. I filled in my numbers. So the opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. Underneath here, I'm going to have 16 minus 8 all over 2. That's going to give me 4 plus or minus the square root of 8 over 2. From our radical days, we know that the square root of 8 is 2 root 2. Okay? And again, to review that, the square root of 8 can be the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. 2 root 2. And now, we can divide, the denominator's 2. I can divide each number in the numerator by 2. So I go ahead and do that. And I'm left with 2 plus or minus root 2. So the quadratic formula gave me 2 answers. Therefore, for my final result, I already know that x equals 3. I now have that x equals 2 plus root 2. And I also have x equals 2 minus root 2. As a result, I've gotten 3 answers, and I started with a cubic. So I have the right amount of answers. Okay? So if you think about this, tying so many ideas together, so many great ideas, it starts with the factoring. We solve by factoring. If we can't factor, you'll have a solution, a root. You'll use synthetic division, which will result in something that you can factor or that you use the quadratic formula on. These problems tie together so many mathematics. I'm excited for you to give this a try when we come back on Monday.